it's just insane. People can do whatever they want. It's like nothing is really regulated to a certain extent. And I feel like a lot of times, like you mentioned before, people behind the keyboard, they think they have a lot more power, and they have a lot more like ammo to say whatever they want. Things that they would never say to the person's face in real life.
Well, do we have a standard for what we consider political correctness? Like, do we have standards in place of what we should expect of people?
I feel like most normal, like what is normal, right?
Right.
I don't even know how to...
The universal standards.
Yeah, like,
for political
there are certain
correctness.
standards that like people who are relatively of sound body and mind adhere to, but
that's very limiting.
Yeah,
That's like 1% of the
I can't even
population.
because the thing is online, the internet, the interwebs is the wild, wild west or the wild, wild east. It's just insane. People can do whatever they want. It's like nothing is really regulated to a certain extent. And I feel like a lot of times, like you mentioned before, people behind the keyboard, they think they have a lot more power, and they have a lot more like ammo to say whatever they want. Things that they would never say to the person's face in real life. But I think a lot of it has to do with the foundation of like, I want to be seen, I want to be heard. That I think is at the core of a lot of people who dig up things and because they want to be retweeted. They want to, be the center of attention. Which, a lot of people do to a certain extent. We all have that, which is why we're in entertainment or whatnot. There's a certain sense of like, not always, of course. Sometimes you're just a musical genius or an acting, a thespian or whatever. And they're just like, and those people like hate being in the public and they're, But a good number of us, like we like this being, the center of attention to a certain extent or being in the spotlight. And so I think a lot of other people also want that, and their only way or their only road to that is to drag somebody or say something nasty, because negative things tend to get a lot more.
And nowadays things go viral in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. Right.
Like, it's crazy.
So it's just, I don't know what I was answering the question. I don't know what question I was answering, but
you did a great job.
I mean, from my perspective,
regulation.
What kind of standards really?
Right.
Like for me, I not grew up, but my kind of introduction into the industry here was in comedy. So I have a lot of friends that work in comedy. And one of the things now we talk about is, what can we talk about when we're doing comedy now? There's so much that's considered off limits. Everything's so politically correct. So I can't make observations because potentially if one person in that room is offended, all of a sudden I'm politically incorrect. It only needs to be one person. And it could be an observation I've made about myself, and that's what it gets down to. It used to be with comedy, you could almost say anything and people go, that's a joke. We know you don't mean it, but we're going to laugh about it. And that for me, with this whole cancel culture is, where do you draw a line in the sand and say, okay, this we can't talk about whatsoever. These ones, maybe we can. These ones you can talk about as much as you like. What and who gets the say on what that is? That for me is just, it seems like in the comedian community, it's becoming a lot more difficult because those expectations are so much higher now.
Well, I think a lot of people think like you, Sam. That's why guys like Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle are blowing up even now, because there's some people who are just kind of like, all right, we got to, some things are comedy. We can laugh about some things. Come on. Like let's laugh at each other. Because I think that's one of the a lot of comedy when you're laughing at yourself, or you're laughing at, people you love or people you enjoy, everybody has things that, that are funny about them, Yeah, I don't know. Like, for example, when I was a kid, I remember I'm Cuban and Peruvian, and when I would go to Miami sometimes, my cousin would be like, "David, ¿qué pasó? You're such a gringo," and I would laugh at that. Because what happened to you? They're like you're even more pale now, like you're just a white boy now, and I would laugh at that because I know that I'm so far apart. I'm not in touch with my Cuban side anymore. Like to them, I'm the whitest kid in the room, you know. And I used to, you know, when I lived in Miami, I was different. So, you know, sometimes we gotta laugh at ourselves too, you know.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed the clip. If you did, listen to the full episode on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
And make sure to subscribe to this channel, Dive Studios, and put those notifications on. Hit that bell.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.